Hailing frequencies open. Welcome back to Trek Retrek here on Geek the F Out. I am Captain Johnny.
I'm Ensign Kayla. Now it's the pencil this time.
It's a pencil. It kind of, I don't know if you can see.
Is it iridescent?
Yes. There, you can see it better that way.
Ooh, that's cool. I want an iridescent pencil.
But
also, I can't remember the last time I've needed a pencil.
Yeah. I could stare at stuff like this all day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put the pencil down.
Put the pencil down.
Put the cookie down. We're here to talk about Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 16, The Gamesters of Triskelion. TVGuide.com says, Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov find themselves on the planet Triskelion, where they are trained to fight to the death for the amusement of the planet's rulers.
That's pretty much it. Thanks for coming. I gotta do that every once in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, they think they're beaming down to Gamma 2, but instead they immediately fall on Triskelion. I don't know how to say it. And
I think it's just
it looks
Triskelion.
Like Triskelion. That's hard to say. And it looks like they kind of fall in it looks like a landing pad or something like that. And Scotty tells Spock that they have vanished because they were supposed to transport down to Gamma 2 and they're not there. And of course, Kirk, Chekhov, and Uhura realize that they're not there and they try to get a hold of the Enterprise, but take a drink every time the communicators don't work. And they're surrounded by a bunch of different types of alien people, humanoid people trying to attack them. And there's a caveman looking dude. There's a kind of Prince Charming looking dude, but not wearing prince wear. And then two metallic trolls.
Two metallic trolls. These are wonderful, fantastic descriptions, Kayla.
Yes. Thank you. And these were literally my initial thoughts too. I didn't even, that's just what came out. And I was like, is this an arena? What is, are we fighting to the death? And that's pretty much what is happening. And they capture Uhura and knock out Kirk and Chekhov. And then all of a sudden, this Dracula dude appears. His name is Galt, and he is the master thrall of the planet Triskelion. And they immediately are shackled up, Kirk, Chekhov, and Uhura, and it looks like the same shackles they used in that other episode. Did you notice that? That seemed
like episode,
shackled area.
The one with the cat, the giant cat.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. They were in a castle. But they're in castles a lot, so that, yeah.
Yeah,
why are they in a castle so much?
The Halloween episode.
Yes.
I forget the name of it now. Cat's Paw, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Anyways.
And Galt talks about the providers and how they are to be trained and spend the rest of their lives there. And Kirk is so confuzzled. He's like, the fuck is happening right now? Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, Spock, Scotty, and Bones can't figure out where they went and are trying to figure it out. And, Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov are being shown their quarters, which are these they kind of look like what you use for horses, with the the bottom is solid and the top is poles or rods. So I was like, these are horse chambers. And when all of a sudden they try to attack their captors, and Galt chokes them telepathically through their collars, I guess. And I was like, okay, so they totally use this in Star Wars. Okay, got it. Copy and paste. And Uhura's drill thrall Lars enters her chamber and starts attacking her, which was very odd. I don't he was bringing her food, but then it was attacking her all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
very odd. I did not like that. But luckily it was a pretty like quick scene, I guess, and like you could kind of see their shadows that they were fighting. Um,
Hmm.
and he finally leaves and he says she is not allowed to refuse selection, which I was like, what does that mean? And this lady, who we find out later is Shauna, goes into Kirk's chamber with food, which um meant to talk about this before. Her outfit, chef's kiss. Chef kiss. The foil is great. The foil outfit is great. Love her makeup. She has a great cut crease and she has feathery brows, which it's hard to see, but I kind of hello, focus. I kind of did that to my brows. It's hard to see. It's not focusing. Um, in honor of her because now it's become a trend. And yeah, her makeup was really cool. But yeah, outfit was great. Also looked very uncomfortable too. Especially like she always seemed like she was like really like sucking in her stomach, or like maybe it was just like really tight on her stomach or something. Cause I'm like, there's no stomach there. Like it's like concave almost. And anyways, so she goes into Kirk's chamber with food. And then on the Enterprise, they come across a fluctuating energy cloud slash ionization trail. And then this yellow humanoid comes into Chekhov's chamber and says they're his instructor. And he's like very uncomfortable by them. And Kirk and Shauna talk in his chamber, and she says how the color on his collar determines where he belongs to. And of course, Kirk hits on her. Big surprise. Big surprise. We're all very surprised by this. And he asks her where she and the others are from, but she gets interrupted by the exercise interval alarm. And during the exercise, Galt says they must use a man for practice target, but they all refuse to do so. And Kirk takes the punishment as being practice target while the caveman whips him. And finally, Kirk is able to untie himself and uses it to choke the caveman. And so he wins the duel. And suddenly, voices from above are bidding on them. And I was like, what is this? The Hunger Games? Because if you have not seen the Hunger Games, people in the Capitol like literally make bids on the tributes. They take bets on them. And so it very much reminded me of that. And one ends up winning them, and Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov's collars are changed to red. And then we have shirtless Kirk strikes again. And Kirk and Shauna are running, and they stop and talk about the providers, planets, love, selecting mates. And she talks about it like increasing the herd. And then he asks her more about the providers, and they immediately start to choke her, and he yells at them and tells them to stop, and they do, and they kiss because of course. So check that also off. All of a sudden Galt pops up out of nowhere, which I was like, wow, he's such a cock block, and says that Kirk has pleased the providers, so there won't be any punishment for him. Back on the Enterprise, though, Spock wants to go faster. Meanwhile, Bones and Scotty advise against it since they don't think it'll help find their crewmen. Spock tells them he's going to continue until, unless they want a mutiny, which Scotty and Bones are like, no, we don't want a mutiny, never. And in Kirk's cell, Shauna says that he's made her feel strangely, and he should get another drill thrall, but he's like, no, I don't want that. They kiss, but then he immediately knocks her out, which I did not see that coming.
My notes, I have Kirk and Shauna love talk, and I wrote down, Kirk's a con man. And then my next is, I literally wrote that, and then he decked her.
Yeah.
Like, I knew he was like, he's such a fucking schmoz con man, like smarmy. Mm-hmm. Just, mm-hmm. I'm like, Kirk, I know what you're doing. He's such a con. He's just a con man. He's a con man.
Yeah, he is. He does it well. And they make it, and they all let's see. Oh, they escape, and he lets out, Ahura and Chekhov, who he's tied up his droll thrall, and they make it outside, but Galt shows up and chokes them again. Big surprise. On the Enterprise, they make it to the planet, and Spock and Bones are about to beam down when a voice says they won't leave, or they can't leave, and their response is echoed down to the planet. And so Kirk starts talking to them, and they hear him, and he insults the providers, telling them to show themselves, which they finally do. They transport him down to the power source deep beneath the surface of the planet, which they're just lit up brightly colored brains in this little what do you call, like, incubation kind of chamber thing. And they're talking to him, and they call themselves superior to Kirk, and they eventually say Kirk will need to be destroyed, and same with the Enterprise. And that's when Kirk is like, fuck, I need to figure out how to get out of this. And he wagers that the Enterprise can beat any thralls put up against them. If the Enterprise wins, they get to leave safely, and all the thralls will be freed. And, they'll need to be educated to be on their own. And, after discussing back and forth, they suggest Kirk goes against 3 thralls and say it's fair. And Kirk's like, I don't think that's fair, but whatever. And he accepts and gets sent back to the arena while the Enterprise bridge watches the fight. And so he gets into a fight, which one of them is like one of the guys we saw in that I thought looked like Hemmer, but he's not Hemmer's species.
An Andorian.
What was the episode that he was in with Spock's parents?
Or
that species?
They're Andorians.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the episode.
Well, the episode's with Spock's parents.
Yeah.
And so that was one of them. And then finally he has to fight Shauna, which I was like, oh, fuck, is he about to have to kill her? But luckily not. She was about to stab him and then pauses, and he knocks her down, and she surrenders, which I was like, thank God they don't need to, like, actually die. Mm-hmm. And the providers say they're free, including Shauna and the rest of the thralls. She asks Kirk to take her with him, and he's like, sorry, you can't. You need to learn first. And they have one last kiss, and she cries as he leaves, which I was like, why can't, like, you educate her? Like, you really were just using her. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, 1000%. Yeah, that's the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
it.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's
it's an interesting one. I really kind of don't know how to feel about it. Like, I don't know. It's very weird. Like, interesting characters. Like, Shauna's like a badass, and like also, yeah, once again, really cool hair and makeup. But and outfit. And like she's a warrior, which is cool to have that duality. And like, I don't know, the concept of it was interesting. I mean, it's been seen before where, people are put in an arena and like have to fight to the death. And I guess I did like the part that there's these literal brains within the earth that are the providers, and they provide everything for them. Don't like how they control everyone though, but it's an interesting concept for sure. It's definitely similar to some of the themes, plots, tropes we've seen before, where it's kind of like a computer. Like even Kirk says in the episode, he's like, oh, are they like a computer? Which I was like, if this is another fucking computer, I swear to dick. Which luckily it wasn't. It was just brightly colored brains. Yeah, so yeah, it was a, I don't know, kind of like mixed feelings. Like some parts were good, some parts were like the plot was okay. I felt like there There was like a lot of like unnecessary kind of scenes in it, I guess is the best way of putting it. Yeah, unnecessary shirtless Kirk, as always. Unnecessary kissing, like him using her. Like I get that he used her and that was like part of the plot.
His escape plan.
Yeah, his escape plan, but yeah, I was like, can we not use women so much?
Right.
Especially because yeah, she's like supposed to be this like badass warrior, and then she just like caves. I don't know.
I'd like to see. I'm interested because so the story outline and the story outline was written by Margaret Arman. The first draft of the teleplay was by Margaret Arman. Second draft, revised second draft, final draft. It doesn't attribute them to anybody, so I'm going to guess they were also by her. But then the revised final draft was by John Meredith Lucas. I'd be interested to see the differences between the scripts that were written by Margaret and then like the revised outline by Gene Kuhn and the revised final draft by John Lucas, to see what the differences might be.
Also, if that person was related to George Lucas and if that's how they got the choking idea.
And just to see what the differences in the script might be from the perspective of it being written by a woman and the perspective of it being revised by a dude.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I'll put it that way. Literally with like the characters and with just the episode in general. I don't know. What are your kind of general thoughts?
I don't have a lot. Like Kirk being a con man just is just a head shaker. I'm amused at the three brains in a jar because I watched this a couple weeks ago. And now as we're talking about it, I remember about them, and I just watched Fallout and have been playing Fallout 3, and there's robots that have people's brains. I'm just like,
oh yeah,
interesting that there's, brains in other things coming up in multiple things recently. I think it reminds me a lot of Arena, the episode where Kirk and the Gorn are transported to the planet and have to fight to the death.
Yeah, and they're literally in an arena again.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a lot of general thoughts about it that haven't already been covered. What about any favorite lines and moments?
I actually didn't have any favorite lines that stood out to me.
I have a couple lines that I thought were notable. McCoy does say "You're out of your Vulcan mind," which is like a quote that is often attributed to him, but I don't hear very often, but it was verbatim in this episode. And then McCoy says, "Hope. I always thought that was a human failing, Mr. Spock." And Spock says, "True, Doctor. Constant exposure does result in a certain degree of contamination."
Yeah. And he's like, "Damnation."
McCoy describes the search as a wild goose chase, and Spock says, "Doctor, I am chasing Captain Kirk, Lieutenant Uhura, and Ensign Chekhov, not some wild aquatic fowl."
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one.
And then McCoy and Scott, one says, "What in the name of heaven's this?" And heaven's got very little to do with this.
I almost wrote that one down. I like that one and the foul one. Those were good. And I will say, I almost forgot to mention, I don't know if you noticed this, at the very end, when Kirk gets beamed up, he says, "Scotty, beam us up." Very close to. Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. That's about the closest they get. It's one of those weird apocryphal
like
things.
Mandela effect.
Yeah, the actual words "beam me up, Scotty" are never spoken. But beam us, Scotty, beam us up is. They bet in Quatloos, like they're I don't know. Quatloos sounds familiar, and I don't know if it's just this from this episode
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's just the currency that they're like bidding on the combatants with.
Just this episode, not in anything else.
Yeah, just on Wikipedia, Quatlu, a currency used in Star Trek episode Gamesters of Triskelion, and Quatlus.com, an internet fraud awareness website. And I don't think that's where I've heard it before. It's probably something that I've heard in sci-fi somewhere as like an Easter egg referencing back to this. But I just don't remember exactly where it's from.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, that'll do it for me for lines and moments. If you don't have anything else,
yeah,
then that'll take us to
too.
That's What They Said.
Okay.
And I went first last time, so Ensign Kayla, you can start us off.
Will you provide all my nourishment?
Turn around.
He's pretty fast with that whip.
And is this also helping?
Take me. Yay. Those are your That's What They Said.
Short, but pretty good. Pretty good ones in this one.
Yeah, there weren't too many. Even the couple times I watched it, I was like, eh.
That will bring us to episode trivia from Memory Alpha. This is one of those, they were just making an episode of TV. Like, there's not a lot of interesting facts.
It seemed like it.
Gene Nelson
let's just make a random episode.
Yeah, Gene Nelson was the first new director to be hired for the second season. All previous episodes of this season were directed by either Joseph Pesney, Mark Daniels, or Ralph Sinesky. Despite finishing on schedule and leaving a good impression on the producers, he was never asked to direct more episodes. Robert C. Johnson, voice of one of the providers, was one of America's most famous voices for a few years. He was the tape-recorded voice that gave the Impossible Missions Force its assignments at the beginning of most episodes of Mission Impossible. Mission was filmed next door to the Star Trek set, and actors
Mission
from the series...
Impossible was a TV show?
Yes. Or you only know the movies?
I kind of figured it was based, like, I thought maybe there was an old movie. I didn't realize it was a TV show.
Nope, it was a TV show.
That's what I thought. Okay. Anyways, carry on.
Mission was filmed next door to the Star Trek set, and actors from the series would often wander over to see what was happening on the Enterprise. Johnson previously did voice work on the first Star Trek pilot, The Cage. When asked why his character was not developed more, George Takei stated that one episode of Star Trek would have helped to develop Sulu very much, and that was the Gamesters of Triskelion. The first draft of this episode did feature Sulu. However, Takei was away on location in Georgia for the filming of the Green Berets, and despite his intentions to appear in the episode, he was unable to return to Los Angeles to make the appearance due to complications on the film set. Much to Takei's disappointment, he did not appear in this episode, yet despite this, Takei said, "Things turned out well anyway. I got to do the Green Berets, and they rewrote all of Sulu's lines for Chekhov, so Walter got a good break." So yeah, lots of Chekhov stuff would have been Sulu if Takei hadn't been away filming the Green Berets. He was gone for most of the second season.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Thank you. Then that will bring us to spoilers without context.
Indeed.
Since Ensign Kayla went first with That's What They Said, we will bring my spoilers without context up on the screen. Oompa Loompa, because, come on. Both Shauna and Chekhov's Thrall reminded me of Oompa Loompas. Green hair, yeah. The control collars, the mutant power dampeners from X-Men, because I've just been watching not only X-Men 97, but the original X-Men animated show, and the collars for Kirk Uhura, like all the thralls, slaves, fighters, whatever you want to call them, reminded me of the power dampeners. Of course, Gladiator, are you not entertained? Because, I mean, it's basically what's happening. Exactly. And then Brain in a Jar. That's a Magic the Gathering card. I had to use the Magic card Brain in the Jar because the Overseers are essentially brains in jars, multiple brains in a single jar.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's mine.
Love.
And
Very
then
good. Very good.
we'll bring Ensign Kayla's up on the screen. She went above and beyond for this one.
Yeah, I had a lot and I couldn't narrow it down, so I decided just to include them all. So, Lady Gaga and her Super Bowl outfit, because first of all, the next picture is Lady Gaga's big green hair, because girl is known for her crazy hair looks, and that is exactly what Shauna's hair reminded me of, because her hair was fucking massive and green and like same. But yeah, her silvery outfit reminded me of Lady Gaga's kind of Super Bowl outfit. And then vampire or Dracula looking dude, because the guy was basically Dracula. Galt was Dracula. And then these are people from the Capitol and Hunger Games. And like I mentioned earlier, it reminded me of Hunger Games with people in the Capitol like taking bets on the tributes. And then, Darth Vader choking a dude out, because obviously. And then a harness, because Kirk wore that harness, which this is the most PG picture of a harness I could find. And troll dolls, because I literally thought they were like troll dolls. Shauna and the other lady. And gummy brains, which I was debating between this or like Jello mold brains, but I decided with gummy brains because they reminded me of like gummy or like Jello brains. That's it.
Excellent.
I couldn't choose just 4.
They're all perfect. No notes.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You've outdone yourself.
Thank you.
The fact that you found 8.
Oh, and I had more. Or like different versions of pictures. Like I had different versions of Lady Gaga's hair or her like Super Bowl outfit or whatever. So
it's amazing.
Like that's totally something Lady Gaga would wear, is Shauna's outfit for sure. 1000%.
Yeah, that outfit is pretty iconic sci-fi. Like I've seen it like as one of the like here's weird Star Trek stuff. Like it's been out there. Like it's in Star Trek Online as one of the swimsuits for like the summer events. You can get that.
I could see it like
outfit.
being a swimsuit. I could see that.
All right. Well, that will bring us to before we rank the episode. Ensign Kayla, why don't you tell the crew where to find us?
Yes, you can find us on social media, mostly on Instagram at GTFO channel. If you want to email us, our email is channelgtfo@gmail.com. It is the reverse of our social media handle. You can reach out to us. Yeah, mostly post on Instagram, any kind of updates, anything like that. You can reach out there as well. Yeah, and make sure to smack that like, smack that subscribe, smack that bell icon, please, and thank you. And yes, let's rank it.
So, Ensign Kayla, how do you rank the Gamesters of Triskelion?
I don't know. Like I said, this is such a mixed bag episode. Like, felt very random to me, I guess is the best way of putting it. Kind of felt all over the place. Like, there was still, like, a plot, yes, but I don't know. It didn't feel very fluid to me. I don't know. It's still kind of entertaining. Like, the outfits are cool, like I said. Hair and makeup is cool. I think if, like, the plot was more solid and there was more, like, solid flow of scenes, it would have worked better. So I think I'm going to give it a lieutenant. Because I still think it's watchable to a degree, but like, yeah, you definitely don't have to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's very much like Arena, but also very different because Arena was just Kirk and the Gorn. This is a whole different thing. But if you're going with the, people forced to fight each other for their freedom, I think Arena did it better.
Yeah. And also the fact that like Ahura and Chekhov weren't really utilized.
Yeah,
Like
there wasn't.
they were trapped just as much as Kirk was.
Yeah.
You know, I get that he's the
Um.
captain and the leader and he's the one that needs to like take initiative. I don't know.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I would probably go Lieutenant too. I don't think it's a skippable. Like, I mean, I don't think it's an episode that you shouldn't bother watching. It's one of those. Lieutenant is watch it if you have time.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
yeah, I think
Exactly.
Lieutenant, unanimous rank of Lieutenant for the Gamesters of
Thanks.
Triskelion. Our next episode will be a piece of the action. The crew of the Enterprise struggles to cope with a planet of imitative people who have modeled their society on 1920s gangsters.
It sounds fascinating. I hope it's as good as it sounds. It sounds very interesting.
We'll see next time.
Yes. Next time on Trek Retrek. And until then, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.